uwager.lv, sportsbook, and casino. Sign up today at uwager.lv, the premier online sportsbook, taking wagers since 1998. The most player-friendly lines, weekly juice specials, and a true dime line in MLB. Unique casino platforms with thousands of games. Play poker, high stakes, low stakes, or tournament play. uwager.lv, what we offer. Free same-day payouts. Customer service and wagering support, 24/7, year-round. Free monthly rebates on your action and daily casino rebates. Contests, free bets, best bonuses, and giveaways. Generous referral program. Get an 80% free play bonus on your first deposit, up to $1,000. Sign up today, and use promo code SPORTSWEB. Remember, you can't win if you don't play.
going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television on a Monday night. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. How do we start off this show as we always do here on a Monday, Wednesday night, 3 days away from the NFL Draft? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have Athlon Sports' draft analyst guru. For me, a guy that knows all about Tampa Bay Buccaneer football, all about these draft prospects. It's Mr. Luke Easterling on the Sports Web. Definitely want to hear what he has to say about all the Bucs draft rumors, all the NFL draft rumors going on right now, because once again, we're only 3 days away. Are you ready, Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans? Are you ready, football fans? I know I am. It's like my Christmas. So we'll have Luke on in just a little bit here, give you an update right now in Game 4 of the first round of the playoffs between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Good news, Steven Stamkos just scored. It's 3-1. And also good news, because your Tampa Bay Rays coming into tonight are 19-3 after sweeping the Chicago White Sox. They are defeating the defending champion Houston Astros 7-3. So we will keep you abreast of that situation and updated on both of these games as we speak here. And then, of course, as always, take your phone calls. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, in case you can't get in, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. And of course, happy birthday to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Huh? 49 years old today. On that note, I got to get this man on, because to me, he's a big-time Buccaneer fan. He covers the Bucs when it comes to the draft overall. Love his work. Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. How you doing tonight?
Doing great, Peter. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, watching this Tampa Bay Lightning game, watching this Tampa Bay Rays game, and trying to produce a show is amazing in itself. But we're only 3 days away from the NFL draft. What do you see this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team doing? Because I know there's a lot of fans right now that are anxious. Todd McShay came out today, really doesn't know what the Bucs are going to do at this juncture. They've been really tight-lipped about that. So what do you say? Once again, welcome to the evolution.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I got the game on here too. So if you see me leaning over, looking around,
Right.
explode out of my chair in a good way or a bad way, hopefully you guys understand. I try to keep it in touch. You know, you cover the Bucs for so long. I've learned to try to keep it to myself if I'm working. The Lightning, I don't cover the Lightning for work, so I allow myself to be a stupid idiot fan when it comes to the Lightning. So now that we got that out of the way, you're going to see me like this the whole time.
Well, this is me too, because here's the thing. Before the show, I actually had to go down, get a power, because I was sharing the power cable with my light here. I had to get the power cable for my streaming service on Roku so I could actually watch both. I've been switching back and forth trying to update everything. So I know, I mean, everybody right now is really, I think, just interested in this Lightning game. They're interested in this Tampa Bay Rays team. And of course, they're interested in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 19.
Yeah. It's a good time to be a fan down here. And for the Bucs, it feels a little bit like 2020, where, they went into that draft like we have to have a right tackle. Right now, the Bucs don't have a left tackle. Obviously, they can move Wirfs to the left side if they need to. But in terms of their needs, I feel like it's pretty obvious that tackle is at the top of that list. And it's similar to that class too, in that I think you have 4 tackles at the top, where if they're all off the board, the Bucs probably go in a different direction. If any of those guys is on the board, then that's I think the direction they go. Again, the 4 we're talking about: Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State, who I think will be gone. To Darnell Wright from Tennessee, who I'm pretty sure will be gone. Peter Skoronski from Northwestern, who's probably more of a guard at the next level. He'll probably be off the board too at that point. Broderick Jones from Georgia is the guy that might be there, and honestly might work out best for the Bucs, because he's more of a left tackle than a right tackle. So if you get him at 19, you can keep Tristan Wirfs over there on the right side, where he's an all-pro. But I think it starts there. I think it starts at tackle. If tackle's off the board, I think they really would love to move down from 19. I think they'd love to get down. They don't have a 4th-round pick. They traded it last year to get back into the 5th to get Zion McCollum. So I think they would love to trade down if there's none of those 4 tackles are there. And then if you're talking about trading down, you're targeting a pass rusher. You're targeting maybe a nickel slot defender. Brian Branch from Alabama is a guy that I know would fit well with what Bowles likes there. There's going to be a lot of pass rushers available down there. I know the 2nd round is that's where they could look as well. Obviously, the Devin White situation maybe moves linebacker up the list a little bit. But definitely a lot of different ways the Bucs could go if the tackles are off the board. If one of those 4 guys are there, I really feel like they're going to be the pick. I think the dark horse is Bijan Robinson, right? If he's still on the board and those tackles aren't there and you can't move back, why not just take the best player available? And he's going to be the best player available if he's still on the board. There's a lot of different ways the Bucs could go. I think it's probably why guys like Todd are talking about how difficult it is to peg them right now because there's just so many different ways this could go for them.
You're absolutely right, and I'm kind of buying the fact that Tristan is going to be the left tackle. I think they're going to go with Luke Gedeke at the right tackle spot. I don't see Jason Light giving up on a 2nd-round player unless, like you said, Darnell Wright's on the board, and I feel like, and we talked about this off here, talked about it on, I believe, Jason Powers and TJ Reeves there. The biggest comparison for me, Wright to Tristan Wirfs, is that what you see with him? Is he one of the most cleanest prospects as an offensive lineman coming out of this draft this year, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think he's one of the easiest to project where he's going to be good, right? Because if you go back and look at his film, he shut down Will Anderson. He did really well against some of the other top pass rushers that he played. So he's a guy that if he's on the board, and again, he's so good that if he went 9th to Chicago, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think they're looking for more of a right tackle than a left tackle. So he could easily be a top 10 pick. He could be the 1st tackle off the board. And that wouldn't shock me at all. So if he happens to get there, I definitely think they would love to make that pick. I just see too many teams, Pittsburgh at 17, even Washington at 16, New England at 14. Now the Jets, who have moved back a couple of spots with the Aaron Rodgers trade, they're at 15. All those teams need tackles, and I just feel like it's highly possible that Wright is definitely off the board, but it's pretty likely that all of those top 4 guys would be off the board and leave the Bucs kind of in a situation where they don't like a whole lot there at 19 and would prefer to move back.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Bijan Robinson could be a generational talent because that's what you've been hearing. And you look at his numbers at Texas, 22, I think average of 22 carries a game. He's a multi-purpose back, can do it all. 3rd down, you need a guy like that. You need a guy who can not only pass protect, but also catch out of the backfield. And I feel like it would right a wrong, if you will, from 2017. And what I'm talking about. And there's a lot of fans out there know what I'm talking about, where they should have taken a Dalvin Cook at the time. But, of course, people say, well, you don't take a running back with a 1st-round pick. With a Robinson, comparing him to a Cook, I mean, what's the comparison on that? And do you take him in that case because he is a generational talent? And I'll go back to this, right? You have Adrian Peterson on the board, but the Bucs have kind of like Williams. Instead, they take a need in Gaines Adams. You pass up on Adrian Peterson. You don't see Jason Light doing that again, do you?
No, I really don't. And again, that's what I wrote about this. Again, I spent 7 great years at USA Today writing at Bucs Wire, and I wrote about this earlier in the draft process at Bucs Wire about that specific situation. Like if the Bucs take Bijan Robinson, I wouldn't be surprised if we can trace the roots of that pick back to that 2017 draft when the Bucs didn't take Dalvin Cook and ended up going with O.J. Howard, who again I was not upset about that pick at the time. But that's the other side of the argument, right? Is you can argue all day long. You can find running backs. You can't find Dalvin Cook. Sorry. You can't find Saquon Barkley, who I think is actually the closer comparison to what Bijan Robinson is. Those guys aren't available in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Can you find a running back that can get the job done? Can he get, maybe even 1,000 yards rushing behind the right offensive line? Yeah, you can find those guys. Very hard to find special players that late at any position. And obviously you put Dalvin Cook in that conversation again, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson. In terms of talent, again, Saquon Barkley just 4 or 5 years ago was the number 2 overall pick and nobody batted an eye. He was the number 1 overall player in that draft for me. So if you're talking about a guy who, again, Bijan Robinson is number 3 on my board going into this draft. And if you're talking about the third best player in the draft being available at 19, I don't know there's any way to slice that where that's a bad pick in terms of just adding talent to your team.
And we're on with the Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about live here on I Love St. Pete Amped Up Sports. And, of course, the Hub, once again, update on the score, 3-1, Lightning over the Toronto Maple Leafs in the second period.
Four.
Oh, whoa!
Four. Let's go.
I love it. That's what I'm talking about. Luke Easterling right there. He's a little bit ahead of me, and that's why I'm streaming. Who scored on that?
Alex Killorn, second of the night.
Oh, I thought he was going to
Playoff killer is activated. Let's go.
There it is right there. And Samsonov had no chance at all. He's looking at himself, and he doesn't know what happened with his glove there. No glove save. 4-1 Tampa Bay Lightning as they are going crazy there in Tampa at Amalie Arena. With that being said, the running back situation, we talk about Robinson. What about Jamar Gibbs? Because I hear a lot about him from Alabama. The comparison out there is an Alvin Kamara. What do you see with this kid? Because it was said that he was going to be a second-round player. Now, with his explosive nature, what he can do, not only playing in the slot, could he also go in the first round, in your opinion?
I think he will. And again, it's less about – I've joked this whole process that Jahmyr Gibbs basically has his own column in my Excel sheet because he's positionless to me. You can call him a running back, but he is an explosive, dynamic, offensive weapon, playmaker, whatever you want to call that, in a running back / wide receiver body. So go back to his film at Georgia Tech. Before he even got to Alabama, we knew he was going to be that type of player. I think he was special at Georgia Tech and flashed that ability. That's why Alabama went after him in the transfer portal. So he's a special player in a different mold. I think Bijan Robinson is his own type of running back, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs is his own type of player at all. And I think those guys, again, Bijan was number 3 on my board. Jahmyr Gibbs is number 16. That's how much I think of him. And I just don't see him getting past, especially if Bijan's off the board a little earlier in the first round. You've got guys like, you got teams like Buffalo and Cincinnati and so many. Imagine Gibbs in those offenses, just adding that type of weaponry to those offenses. There's too many teams that could use a guy like that. Even Philly at 30, if he happens to get that far, but I don't even know if he gets that far. There's you know how it is, man. Speed kills in the NFL, the versatility and all the different things you can do with a guy like that, lining him up in confusing and frustrating defenses. He's too much of a dynamic talent. I don't see him lasting long, regardless of position. Say what you want about running backs. An offensive coordinator, general manager is going to look at that and say, I don't care what position he plays. He's just a dynamic guy that can change a game. And that guy, those guys don't last very long on draft night.
A lot of people would say, why you draft a running back besides the fact that it's the best player on the board? Because you have Rashard White. You also have Keyshawn Vaughn. But do you think, in your opinion, do you think the Bucs are happy with that running back room? Because you don't know what Keyshawn Vaughn can do because he hasn't had the reps. You're not really sure what Rashard White can do because he hasn't had the reps. So is this a case where, once again, you take the best player on the board and because you want to emulate the Seattle Seahawks with that 4.8 yards a carry?
I think part of this is that we really are experiencing, for the most part, the death of the featured back in the NFL. I think more and more teams, the closer we get to away from the days of where, fantasy football, there were like 10 or 12 running backs that took up the whole top of the draft because every team had one guy, right? Every team had one back that got all the touches on every down, and that's the way you wanted it. Teams don't see the value in that anymore because if one guy gets hurt, then that's your whole backfield. They want to have a stable of backs. Daniel Jeremiah has talked about this in regards to receivers before, where you basically want to have a basketball team of receivers, different skill sets for the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and different sizes and things that match up. The running back group, I feel like, is moving in that direction as well, where you want to have a speed guy, you want to have a power guy, you want to have some guys somewhere in between. You want to have an opportunity to have depth because you're going to lean on those guys late in games. You don't want to just rely on one guy. And I think that's the approach the Bucs will take with this, is that, listen, we've got a guy like Rashad White, who's somewhere in the middle, right? He's not a blazing, super speed, fast guy, but he's fast enough. He's not a super big, powerful guy, but he's tough and powerful enough. Mm-hmm. what do they want that next guy to be? Who do they want the number 2 to be? Do they want him to be more of a power guy to eat up the yards and the carries, the tough stuff? Do they want more of a smaller, more explosive change of pace guy? Maybe they take both. Jason Light is a general manager who has never been afraid to double dip at a position where he feels like it needs to be improved in a big way. So maybe they take 2 backs and give him power and speed. I know we've talked about Keyshawn Vaughn. I know there's some guys that they'd like to see, but I mean, to be honest, Keyshawn Vaughn's had practice reps for a while now. He's had opportunities in the past to show what he can do. It wouldn't surprise me if the Bucs do everything they can to maximize value and add as much speed and explosiveness to this offense as possible. And I don't know that they really care where that is. Tight end, wide receiver, running back, whatever it is. We need to get faster. We need to get more dynamic, more explosive. If that means a running back, great. And I think they're going to have some good options there.
What about tight end? Because I know it would kind of make some Bucs fans out there a little bit upset, but you've got, Cade Otton. He played well, but maybe you need to add to that room. Maybe you need an explosive option, like you said, that has the speed, but also can block. A Dalton Kincaid. I don't necessarily know if he's a blocker. He's more of a pass catcher. Maybe a Michael Meyer from Notre Dame. I mean, are those possibilities? And with that being said, if they're going to trade down, what quarterback do you think is on the board? Because all we hear about is Will Levis. The Bucs love him. If he's on the board or if he happens to slip, that they would trade up for him. Do you buy that? Let's talk about the tight end situation first, and then go ahead and address the quarterback.
I definitely think they draft a tight end. And again, might sound weird after drafting 2 last year, but both those guys made a big impact for this team as rookies. O'Keefe with his versatility as a blocker, as a receiver. And Cade Otton obviously had some huge plays and clutch moments last year. And I think those 2 guys are good enough, but you're also having to replace Cameron Brate. And so they need at least another tight end just in the room. You lost Kyle Rudolph. He's not back as well. I don't think it's a matter of when if they add a tight end, I think they will. It's just when. I don't think it's an early need for them. I don't see them spending one of those first couple picks on a tight end. I know it's a deep class. There's going to be some talented guys up there. Darnell Washington from Georgia is a guy that I think is really intriguing, particularly because he brings the blocking aspect that Gronk did with the unlimited potential as a receiver. 6'7", 265. He's basically the size of an offensive lineman already. And as an athlete is just ridiculous for that size. And he's not quite a polished pass catcher yet, but he's got the potential because of that athleticism and that versatility. So he's an interesting guy to keep an eye on if he starts to slip. But I just don't see the Bucs prioritizing that position early. I think there's some more immediate needs they need to get to, unless somebody falls to them that's like a real, we can't pass this guy up sort of situation. I feel like they're going to address that day 3 probably. And then in terms of quarterbacks, I mean, Will Levis is a guy that I've been, I hate when these conversations get out of hand because it feels like I'm dogging the guy. I think Will Levis is a talented quarterback. I have a 2nd-round grade on him. He's the number 50 overall player on my board. That's not bad. That's not a bad thing. I think there's only 49 guys ahead of him in a 300-person list of rankings that I have. I think he's a pretty good player. If you're talking about taking him on day 2 in a situation where you can, develop him and he's not, expected to jump into the fire right away and be the savior of a franchise, I'm fine with that in the right situation. If you're talking about teams in the top 5, top 10, making him the guy, I get really concerned in terms of what we've seen from him so far and how it might project to the next level. The conversation for the Bucs, I think, has to be had if he gets to 19. Then you have to have a conversation just because the position is so important and because he does have some traits that give him a lot of potential. The arm strength, the toughness, the frame. He's got the size and the physicality. He's competitive son of a gun, man. Coaches are going to love the way he plays the game. The accuracy, the decision-making, the turnovers, the consistency in those areas was a problem, and it didn't really get better from 21 to 22, which is kind of a red flag for me in terms of the lack of progression there. But in terms of, if you're talking about moving up for a guy like that, I really would not like to see that. I get it. It's quarterback. It's an important position. I actually have Hendon Hooker from Tennessee ahead of Will Levis, barely. And there's some different, dynamics to his situation as well with the injury and his age and stuff like that. But, if my rule on quarterbacks, though, and again, this is 32 different teams, 32 different front offices, and none of them are in the media. So we do this in a very different way than they do. You either have a quarterback or you don't. And if you are convinced that Will Levis has what it takes to be that guy, you got to take him. I don't care if that's at 1 or 5 or 10 or 12, wherever you are. If he's there and you think he's that guy, the position is just too important, and you have to plant your flag there and say, this is my guy. I get it. I wouldn't be thrilled with it in a vacuum, but if they're convinced he can be that guy, you have to take that guy at a quarterback position.
And for me, I mean, it would be just an indictment on the fact that maybe they don't necessarily believe as much as they're saying about Kyle Trask. And of course, Baker Mayfield, he's got potential. He's a number 1 overall pick in 2018, but besides that, really hasn't done much. Let's go to that really quick, and then we'll get back to the draft. What do you think of that quarterback competition, or is it even a competition at all, in your opinion?
And I think, honestly, and to compare it to what we were just talking about, I don't know that taking a guy like Levis or even Hooker would be an indictment of the room as much as it is you can never have too many guys at this position. Like, you don't want to ever have too few quarterbacks. Look at the 49ers situation last year. Taking that guy, if you think he can be a franchise guy, and now you can have the competition that you thought you were going to have and still have a guy waiting in the wings on a rookie contract, a 5-year deal, that if he works out, then that gives you a longer period of time to stretch. Then if Baker Mayfield looks great in camp and Kyle Trask is playing his ass off and competing, and it's a tight competition. And, oh, by the way, you also have a Will Levis or a Hendon Hooker waiting for his turn along the way. That's a great problem to have at the game's most important position. So I don't have a problem with that and don't think it would be much of an indictment, to be honest. But in terms of where the room stands right now, listen, we all know what the salary cap situation was like. The Bucs had to do their best to bring in somebody with starting experience who could compete and really push Trask so they didn't just hand him the job, right? You've got to see him compete against someone else and win that job, as opposed to being, we spent a 2nd-round pick on you. We got to see what you got. We're just going to throw you in there. It's your job to lose. I don't think that would be the best thing for him and for getting the best out of him. So Baker Mayfield, I thought, was the best balance of, starting experience, but still young enough to have some growth potential. Obviously, a guy with a huge chip on his shoulder for a lot of reasons, and a guy that wants to prove he can stay healthy and be the best version of himself that we saw for that one season, that playoff season that he had in Cleveland. He's going to have receivers that he never had anywhere else. He's going to have some talent around him to showcase that, and I'm excited to see that. I don't think that it's necessarily not a competition. I think that teams will always err on the side of the veteran guy that we have seen start games in this league and win games. And right now that's Baker Mayfield. So I think right now, if they had to pick a guy, they're probably going to go with the guy that has the experience, just to see and to be comfortable the fact that he knows what he's doing in that situation. And part of that is because if it's the same offense from last year, we might be having a little bit of a different conversation, because then, Trask has a bit of a leg up. He's been in the system. That maybe gives him an edge. They're all starting from scratch here with Dave Canales, the new OC. So that kind of levels the playing field even more. And I feel like the edge is always going to go to the guy like Mayfield, who has experience. They'll let him kind of take the first team reps and allow Trask to beat him out. You're going to have to take it from the guy who has already started in this league. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
What do you think about the draft comp of Kyle Trask? What do you see with him? What did you see with him coming out of the University of Florida? Because highly productive, plays at a high level, and then gets to the Bucs. And, of course, Brady's there and Blaine Gabbert, and really doesn't ascend, if you will, to that depth chart. What are your thoughts of him? And do you think that he can be the guy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers eventually?
I mean, the quick answer on that is I have no clue. I'd love for him to be, because the evidence is all on Twitter. I was not thrilled with that pick, mostly situationally for the Bucs. A team that was coming off a Super Bowl and needed some things to rebuild that roster and reload for the next day. And they took a guy with their second best pick that in a perfect world, he never sees the field. And that's basically what happened, right? They had another fantastic season in 2021, and it didn't end the way they wanted. But the only way he would have seen the field is if Brady gets hurt or something really bad happens, right? So you're taking a guy in the second round that you hope never has to play. And that felt like a weird spot for a team that really needed depth in the secondary. Could have used another pass rusher, a defensive lineman, a receiver, so many different things. And that really came back to bite them, right? They really could have used a second-round talent at a lot of those other positions throughout 2021 when they had so many injuries pile up. So looking forward, though, you go back to his film at Florida, you can see he was highly productive. You can see, obviously, you talk to his coaches. He's such a smart kid. He puts a lot of effort and thought into his preparation. And so you appreciate the grind, right? The going from a backup most of his career in high school and then doing the same in college and making the most of his opportunity when he got it. That's kind of been his pattern. So I think Bucs fans are obviously hopeful that that will play out again this time and he will turn out to be a franchise guy like he did when he was a legitimate Heisman candidate for Florida. He had a hell of a season in his last year at Florida. So if the Bucs get the best of him and put him in a position, which I hope, again, this Dave Canales offense seems to think it can, put him in a position where he's just basically the distributor and the point guard and doesn't put as much on his shoulders as the previous offense put on Tom Brady's shoulders, kind of needing him to save the day most of the time. I think this could be an offense where he could thrive. And obviously, again, at the time, I had a 3rd-round grade on him. I thought it was a little early, obviously, but I understand the quarterback position is important. I just thought the Bucs needed so many other things. So I'm hopeful that they get the ROI, right? I want the return on that investment of a 2nd-round pick that I feel like cost them a bit at the time. So I'd love to see that pay off now by saying, they got it right. He is going to be able to be the guy.
All right, give me a prediction because I know you got to get out of here. I want you to watch the Lightning game. I could talk to you all night long about draft and about the Bucs because we're kind of similar. I grew up as a Bucs fan when I was 8 years old, and I see the same thing with you and going to, Fan Fest when they used to have them. Give me a prediction Thursday night at 19. Do the Bucs stay there? Do they trade out? If they stay there, who did they take, in your opinion, Luke Easterling?
I think it's got to be one of the tackles or it's Bijan Robinson if they stay at 19. If those 4 tackles are gone, I think Robinson is a strong pick if they can't trade down. If all of those guys are gone, I think they try really hard to trade down. If they do move down, I think it's a pass rusher. Will McDonald, the 4th from Iowa State, is a guy I know they like a lot. They like Felix Enudike Uzama from Kansas State as well. I think that would be the ideal. If one of those top 4 tackles is still there, they stay at 19 and they pick him. Otherwise, it's Bijan if he's there. Otherwise, I think they move back and try to target a pass rusher, maybe even Brian Branch, that slot defender from Alabama that I think would fit great in this defense. I don't know if that's a prediction. I feel like I hedged in all different directions. But that's kind of the different scenarios I think could play out for the Bucs Thursday night.
Real quick, and one more last question. CJ Stroud, are you buying this nonsense that Houston could actually pass up on him?
Well, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there's two different flavors of BS here, right? There's the Texans part of it, which I have no clue. Could they pass on him? Sure. Should they? Absolutely not. So we see teams do this stuff all the time. They make decisions, and again, you got a defensive head coach. D'Amico Ryan's coming from San Francisco, where they obviously won games, a lot of games, with a great defense and a quarterback who can just get the job done. So maybe he comes along and he's like, listen, we don't have to spend number 2 on a quarterback. We can get a veteran. We can maybe work with Davis Mills or wait and get a Hendon Hooker. They picked 12th, by the way. Keep that in mind in terms of Levis and Richardson and Hooker, those other quarterbacks. Maybe that's where they get that guy. Mm-hmm. So, D'Amico Ryans could go Will Anderson at 2 and just take his, maybe even Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech, who I know they like a lot, and just see what quarterbacks fall. And if not, we'll deal with the veteran thing and we'll build slowly that way. That wouldn't surprise me. What I'm not buying is all this garbage and these rumors about his intelligence tests and his Manning passing academy thing and all this other. Don't listen to any of that. It's lying season. This is the time of year where you can't believe anything you hear from anywhere. It's just go look at the tape. Go look at what he did against Georgia. Should have won that game, was a shanked field goal away from knocking off Georgia and would have never had a repeat national championship. The Buckeyes would have been in the national championship game. And judging by the way TCU played, may have been national champions. And maybe we're having a different conversation here at number 1 if that happens. But go watch that game. Go watch 2 years of CJ Stroud carving up every defense in the Big Ten. And you can put all this other BS that we've heard over the last week to rest. He's a franchise quarterback. He's a guy that can start day 1. And if I was Houston, I would take him at 2. Doesn't mean they will, but they definitely should.
And I'm surprised that Carolina's not taking him, but it certainly seems like it's going to be Bryce Young because Young is basically he's no more visits. He's not doing any more visits. So to me, that tells me that Carolina, well, we'll see. Go ahead, Luke, and promote yourself here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television.
Hey, man, it's been such a blast. I love coming on this show. You see it down there at the bottom. I'm at Luke Easterling on Twitter. Come on over to Athlon Sports and see all the content we're pushing out. Obviously, we had a ton of stuff on the Aaron Rodgers trade. I did a new 2-round mock draft right after the trade to kind of update the order and see how things could go for those teams and how it impacts everybody else. So we got a fresh 2-round mock draft over there right now. You can go see who I gave the Bucs in both of those rounds. But I'll have another one, my final mock draft on Thursday. We have all kinds of, in-depth player profiles and scouting reports. We've got all the news and the notes and the predictions. We've got so many things going on there. We'll have you covered through the draft, after the draft with the recaps. And I know I do it from a national perspective now, but all the Bucs fans know that I'm always going to throw a bone to my Bucs and keep a close eye on what's going on there and give you guys as much Bucs content as I can.
There you go. And that's why he's not going to be a stranger on this show. We're going to get him on again. Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Sports Web, my friend. All right.
My pleasure, buddy. Go Bolts. Let's go.
Yeah, go Bolts. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Finish strong right there. Update on that score. 4-1 over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Everyone's like, you don't talk enough hockey on here. We're going to talk hockey. We're going to talk baseball. We're definitely going to talk NFL draft. And we're going to get my co-host on here. Here we go. Handicapper professional extraordinaire of 1252 Chicago Sports, Mr. Harry the Greek. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. And I know you've got to be a happy man, not just because the Tampa Bay Lightning are beating the Toronto Maple Leafs, not just because the Tampa Bay Rays are beating.
Oh, I wish he stayed in the division. Stop it.
Listen, they're beating the Houston Astros. Not just that. Aaron Rodgers.
That's what I just said. I wish he was staying in the division because I really wanted to get his ass kicked this year.
Here we go. Ready? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Green Bay
sucks.
What do you think of that trade today? Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend.
They swapped first-round picks. New York got an extra pick coming back in. I think they get a fifth-rounder, and then they could potentially, Green Bay get a potentially, they're guaranteed a second-rounder for next year, but if he plays 65% of the snaps, which Aaron Rodgers might, unless he has to do another 4-day of silent treatment with his kratom that he's got to drink. I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, then it just falls below, and then he becomes a Minnesota Viking. And they just announced in the year 2035, Jordan Love will become a New York Jet.
Well, there you go. And that's, again, a handicapper extraordinaire. And why not? Because they've already gotten Brett Favre. They got him for a conditional 4th-round pick. And there's some Bucs history to that because a lot of Bucs fans went to bed thinking that John Gruden and Bruce Allen made a deal for Brett Favre. Not so fast. No. The Jets got him, and now the Jets get Aaron Rodgers.
I would have loved to have seen what Brett Favre would have been able to do
in John Gruden's offense.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
Sure.
Oh, God. I think that would have just been.
It would have been amazing. I think it would have been kind of amazing.
Can you imagine him in Bruce Arians style of offense?
I would have been excited. I've been very excited.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
that offense, that would have been sick, brother.
All right, so here's the terms of the deal announced by Adam Schefter on ESPN. If you watch anything, you got to watch him break the news on NFL Live. It's great, and to see everybody's face just like lose their mind. But Rodgers, of course, in pick number 15, that's what the Jets get. They also get a 2023 5th-round pick, which is number 170. The Packers get number 13. 2023 2nd-round pick, a 6th-round pick, and a conditional 2024 2nd-round pick that becomes a first if Rodgers plays 65% of the plays. So to me, it certainly seems like, the Packers are going to get 2 first-round picks because you would think if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, which, is not always a certainty, but if you play 65% of the snaps, they get a 1st-round pick for 2024.
Yeah, I understood. I understood what you said.
Okay. Well, the Packers are going with Jordan Love at this point. So,
yep. Wouldn't it be something at number 15 if one of the top 4 quarterbacks fall right into Green Bay's lap and they go, you know what? We're going to select Will Levis.
I mean, Levis could be there, but you hear more and more that Levis could be a Colts. The Colts like,
or even an Anthony Richardson.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's going to be there.
I'm just saying, let's just say if he was, I mean, wouldn't that be something?
Right.
if Green Bay selected. Because you know what? If you really think about it, if you do have another one of these mobile-esque type of quarterbacks,
Mhm.
like an Anthony Richardson or like a Justin Fields type of quarterback, I mean, how does Green Bay not go in that direction, for Christ's sakes?
Right, exactly. I tell you what, let's go out to the comments and then we'll get out to Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. I don't know what the update of the score is for the Rays, but I guarantee he's going to let us know. Let's go out to Troy here first, second, and third. And thank you.
Flawless victory.
And then you also get this.
This guy sucks.
Roger says, I'm always number one. Remember, I can ban all of you.
Acknowledge me.
Let's go out to Troy here. Thank you for the invite to your draft party, Peter. I'll bring Little Caesars Pizza, your favorite. I mean, there was no invite to the draft party, but Little Caesars is not even the kind you do. Let's go out to Troy again. Roger's not invited because he only drinks Bud Light beer. I'll bring Coronas. KR says, evening, guys. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah.
By the way, once again, happy birthday to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 49 years ago, they were awarded a team. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't think you knew it at all. I think it was great that you expounded on that. Hey, guys, Lightning are up 3-1 now.
Here, let me expound for you a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yes.
please.
49 years ago, I was 6 years old.
Yes.
I was, the Greek was becoming the Greek. He was starting to learn how to read out a horse program.
Such an idiot.
And then he's reading the forum, and then he puts it down, and then he picks up the Chicago Sun-Times, and it says the Tampa Bay was awarded a franchise.
There you go. Very good. Okay.
So I
All
did
right.
know that.
I believe you. Be back in a minute.
Would you like a longer diatribe here, or no?
Sure. No, I mean, you've been getting short lately. Like, I've been trying to, yeah, sure. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Well, that's great. Good job. I could have asked somebody down the block, hey, what do you think? Oh, I think it's great.
But I'm not loquacious. I give you my opinions when they're
please.
necessary.
You are loquacious. You are
loquacious.
Yes.
Hello.
You right here. You
look up the definition of loquacious in the dictionary. It'll say Peter Blake. Go ahead.
It'll say Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy too.
No, I don't know about that, Ray. I don't know
He just
about
talks
that.
fast. We need to call him Twista because he should rap fast, like Busta Rhymes or Twista. The way he
I'm gonna call him the pool boy.
Oh, jeez.
Get it, Ray?
This guy sucks.
Leo Stroll drives a car with a steam engine. I don't know what that is. It's actually kind of funny, but I'm not going to even respond.
Well, let me expound on that for you. Sir.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
A steam engine is something that they used way before they had combustionable engines. Peter.
Oh, okay.
You see, if you did a little history, where
a little research?
Steam engines and combustible engines.
Okay.
There's a difference.
Old like you. That's what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Moses was actually a pretty good dude. Now, when Ray comes in, seriously, ask him what it was like. Was it really bad, the weather? That's all. Just ask Ray. Was the weather as bad as it showed to be when everybody had to load up on the ark? Ray, just bring
shut up and be quiet.
Listen, for Christ's sakes, just bring Ray in here, okay? I got to know the answer to this question, okay? And then I got to ask about the punter and the kicker.
I got to read that. Okay, shut up about the kicker and the punter. There's no kicker and punter.
Shut up!
All right, so let's go out to the phone lines. You want some nonsense? You get nonsense.
I want Greek Ray.
The tribal troll is in the building.
Acknowledge me.
The Greekite. Sprinkle a little Greekite. There's my boy.
We got Tampa Bay Ray full of nonsense right there. All right, tribal troll, what do you have to say here? Welcome to the evolution.
Greekites, rejoice. Rogers the Malacca is gone.
Oh, God. Okay, great. Thanks. Appreciate it. What else? You're an idiot.
And in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Trust. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, great.
Amen.
Awesome.
Amen.
Okay.
And Peter, you're showing off your Pasco County education.
Why is that?
Yes.
You don't know what a combustion or a steam engine is?
I know what it meant.
He didn't know the difference.
I know what it meant.
Come on,
Shut
Peter.
up, both.
Wait, no,
of you at this
Roger.
point.
Shut up!
What do you
It's
want to
not-
say?
It's not the combustion engine. It's because it's the two-stroke.
The two-stroke. Ray, whatever happened when he would milk cows with the four-stroke?
I don't know, but it never took me more than three
I'm ready
strokes.
to kick you both out of here right now.
No, we're talking about cows now. This is
Talking about
informational.
nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. What do you want, Roger?
What I have a question for Ray first, so Roger can hear this. Okay, Ray.
Go ahead, Harry.
Honestly, Ray.
Yes.
Was the weather really that bad when they were loading the Ark up?
Actually, no. What happened was actually they don't. No one. The real story is not told. But what happened was somebody with the mower had clipped John the Baptist's sprinkler system, and that was running. There was not a 40-day rain.
Shut up!
You know nothing at all.
Kids? It's story time with Ray Kennedy.
No, I tell you right now, that was a good voice there. You should probably do that.
God.
All right, Roger. What else, buddy? Are you ready for the draft here in 3 days?
Yes, man.
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that up, Peter.
Thank you.
Because in 3 short nights, you're gonna owe me wings. You're gonna go the Greek steak, and you're gonna owe Ray. I don't know, whatever Ray wants.
Ray didn't bet me. Ray's smart enough not to bet me at this.
Ray
pick.
wants a larger cardboard box. Tell him, Ray.
Okay, shut up.
I need a pool brush.
Okay, listen.
A pool brush.
Let's put it all out there right now. This bet that Roger is talking about is Anthony Richardson is not going to fall out of the top 10. That's the bet.
No, he is going to fall out of the top 10.
He's not. You're going to owe me wings. Harry's going to owe me a steak. Leo's going to owe me wings. Ray, do you want in on this action? Do you want this smoke?
Come on, Ray.
Ray, what side of the gambling area do you want to be on? His side or the Greek side?
Greek guy, baby.
I'm going Greek side.
I know.
Okay, all
Hell
right.
yeah, Ray.
You guys are losing wings and losing your ass. This
my
Thursday.
God.
Wait,
This
Pete,
poor
for
guy.
Levinson, for Richardson not to get out of the top 10, you'd have to convince me that Richardson's and his ceiling is high, but we don't know what his floor is. You got to convince me that another team will take him ahead of Levis, because you're not going to get Young and Stroud and Levis and Richardson off the board in the top 10 with the running back and the defensive line. I think that the only way that Richardson can go top 10, I don't know who's going to take Richardson.
Hey, don't forget about Hooker.
Hendon Hooker. Yeah.
Let's not forget about the best quarterback in this entire draft in Hooker.
Well, he could be if he wasn't hurt, and if he, again, that's the whole big deal is the torn ACL. Over it's like 55 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, ridiculous numbers playing an SEC competition, and he may go to 12, or there may be a team that trades up because talk is the Tennessee Titans don't necessarily believe in Malik Willis. Arizona could be, open for business. Houston could pass up on a quarterback and go.
They're not passing up on a quarterback. Come on, stop it.
Do you believe that? I mean, you're not believing that rumor that it could be
zero.
Wilson?
Zero chance.
Zero.
Wait, you don't think there's a chance that Houston will go defense at number 2 or trade back a couple of spots, Harry, and still go defense?
No, hold on. You are very correct. I still think they're taking a quarterback.
Okay, Ruth is barking. Ruth is not. Ruth,
Get him,
may agree
Ruth.
with you. I think Ruth agrees with me on the Anthony Richardson stuff. But go ahead.
Ruth
Harry.
is thinking DeMarco Ryans goes defense at Houston because Sam
DeMarco
Mills
Ryans would not be the
DeMarco.
guy. It would be D'Amico Ryans.
D'Amico, that's what I meant.
Not DeMarco Farr.
You ever notice how he likes to correct people all the time? I mean, tomato. I mean, give me a break.
You know something, though, Peter? You made a great point when you were talking to Luke Easterling, talking about if Bijan Johnson, the Texas running back, if he falls at number 19, are the Bucs not satisfied with the Rashad White?
That's another bet I'd like to make. By the way,
well,
there's zero chance that Bijan's going to Tampa Bay.
Well, and then you got Chase Edmonds here.
Bijan's going to the Bears.
I don't know.
Bears? Is he going to the Eagles?
Wow.
Because the rumors out there, and again, it's rumor season. And by the way, we can speculate on rumors on this show because that's what we do here.
Buccaneers have a stud for a running back.
In the draft, Peter, real quick.
Yes.
Explain the rules for your draft choosing.
Okay.
It's $10 to get in.
All right. Yes. Okay. So we're going to have a fan draft on Wednesday night. It's $10 an entry fee. You get to pick your favorite team. Now, Christopher Cole already picked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's off the board. But you have Carolina, you have the Texans that are available, Arizona that's available, multiple teams that are available at the end of the day. You pay $10. If you match your favorite team's pick that you pick on
Houston.
Night, you get – okay, well, you can take Houston.
No, I'm sorry. I'll take Carolina.
Okay.
I already know who they're taking.
Well, you can take Carolina, but I wanted to leave that up to the fan. And I'm just shocked that nobody has taken Carolina yet. and paid the 10
Because they're taking C.J. Stroud, and
Well,
I get a free lunch.
Well, yes, and here's the thing. I'm going to buy you lunch no matter what it is. If it's wings, possibly
What'd you say? No
Yes.
matter what it is?
No matter what it is.
Ray, I don't think he's seen where
Hey.
you and I go to lunch, does he?
No, brother. But I think that Bryce Young is your number one overall. I used to think C.J. Stroud. I think it's Bryce Young, and I think that if the Panthers are going to swing towards C.J. Stroud, you could almost trade back a few spots, get some draft capital, Frank Wright there in Carolina, and you could pick up a Hendon Hooker. And the fact of the matter is, Carolina's got a good defense and a pretty solid offensive line. I mean, they don't have a receiving core, but I used to think it was C.J. Stroud, but now the SI article with Bryce Young, the history on this kid. I think that you buy it for the narrative, the story, the character that he is. He went to Mater Dei. He was the first African-American quarterback to lead Mater Dei to be a starting quarterback at Mater Dei. Second day of practice, the head coach at Mater Dei, which everyone knows is one of the best college or high school programs in the country. The head coach, the assistant coaches were like going, Bryce, you don't do it this way, you do it that way. You don't do it this way, you do it that way. Second practice, the head coach turned to the assistant coach and said, look, Bryce Young coaches himself. This guy gets in and out of it. I don't know how he does it. He's a phenomenal player. There's a story that goes with this kid. Bryce Young's your number one overall pick in 2023.
Great commentary on him. Ray, I absolutely would love to agree with you on that because, he is a bright young kid and he's got all the intangibles and everything. There's only one thing he doesn't have. It's called size. And in the National Football League, it might become another Kyler Murray really quick. And I don't think general managers, let me tell you something, it's a copycat league. But what they don't want to do is a repeat of the copycat league because I don't know, man. I don't know how he's going to be able to hold up to it. To me, he reminds me of a third down running back who plays quarterback. It's only a specialty type of option. He's got a hell of an arm on him, and he has every intangible. But, man, I'm telling you, C.J. Stroud is a plug-and-play quarterback in the National Football League.
I agree with you on that. He's got all the measurables at the end of the day. And again, going back to the fan draft, that's going to start at a special time here, 8 o'clock. Either get on camera or get on phone, but don't miss your pick. And you're going to have to pay attention.
So how do people pay the $10? You super chat or how are you doing it?
You either Zelle me or Cash App me, or you can do a super.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
Well, I'm
zelling it right there.
I've already got.
I'll take the first 2 picks. Ray, where do you want to go to lunch?
What's a Zelle?
Jeez. Okay. All right. Go ahead. It's through your bank. Go ahead, Roger. What were you going to say?
That's it, man. I'm done. I just wanted to know how the whole thing was working, and I'm taking the Bears at number 9.
Yes. Roger is going to be taking number 9 here. Of course, the Chicago Bears. And you're going to hear this sound right here. And you better make your pick.
And then the number 9 pick. The Chicago Bears draft.
I'm taking your advice 3 days out. Should I go Jalen Carter and Ngakoue, or do I go Bijan?
Well, here's the thing.
Buddy, you got one of the easiest picks.
Wait a minute.
Of everybody.
Here's the great thing about this fan draft. Somebody before you may pick Jalen Carter. So then who do you go with? That's the reason why you got to continue to watch the fan draft.
I'm asking the Greek.
You know what? All you got to do is text the Greek, and I'll make sure that out of the top 10, whoever's available, we get 4 people. 4 people free lunches.
Okay. And I'll tell you right now, I will kick you off the show if you try to rig this.
This guy sucks.
Peter,
Great,
I will say this, though. Honest to goodness.
The Black Sox.
Yeah, they got stuff this weekend. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. Well, no, the draft. It's interesting though, because as people get their slots and they pick the team, whether it's their team or the team they're going with, that became interesting. Now I'm interested in the draft. I mean, I love the draft, but it's been tough in Tampa Bay. You got the Rays locking down an 8-3 lead. Last I saw it in the 9th, continuing to be undefeated at home. The Lightning were up 3-1 going into the 3rd period. They had
4-1 now.
4-1. They had work done on between the 2nd and 3rd period. I love it. Work done talking about hockey in Tampa Bay. So it's been a little hard to get geared up for the draft. But, man, as these slots start getting filled and I start seeing these names, the people that are taking these teams, now I'm like, okay, now I see a reason to be interested in the draft on Thursday night. Looking forward to the party, brother.
Absolutely. And it's for Wednesday night. It's for the fans. We're going to start out at 8 o'clock. I'm going to give them the opportunity to be a star on the show and be their own general manager.
Wait, Peter.
Yes.
Is this thing going to be on Wednesday night or Thursday night as it just happened?
It is on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. We're going to do hopefully a draft show on Thursday night. We'll see where we're going to be. Not sure where we're at this point. Hold on a sec. Austin Matthews just scored for the Toronto Maple Leafs, so now it is 4-2. And that is in the third period with 10:16 left. Thanks a lot for the call, Roger. Appreciate you. All right, boss?
Have a great night, guys.
All right, good stuff there from Roger Shue, the Tribal Troll. Yes, again, let me go full screen to make this very crystal clear. Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, you get on. You pay the fee of $10. If you get the pick right, you get on camera, you pick the team. If you get it right on Thursday night, I buy you lunch. And no matter what it is, if it's steak, if it's wings, something along those lines, we'll make it work if you get the pick right. Now, again, I don't want to be doing the picks. I know Harry doesn't want to be doing the picks unless he wants to basically get lunch out of this. And also Tampa Bay Ray, I know, doesn't want to do the picks. So this is for the fan. You have the opportunity to be the general manager of your favorite team. Take the opportunity, either get on camera or get on the phone and be an NFL general manager on the Sports Web's fan mock draft on Wednesday night. So there you go.
Troy, I know you're listening out there.
Yeah, Troy, yes.
I will pay you $50.
$50.
To just send us an email so we can send you the link so that you, my friend, can pick a couple of teams. Simple. Simple.
Yeah,
then you can buy all the Black Label beer you want, you friggin' hillbilly from Pasco.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. So with that being said, are we buying what Ray said? I think a lot of people are saying that Bryce Young is going to be the number one overall pick. Is that where we're going at this point, Harry?
Hi, Ruth.
What's the
Ray thinks it's Bryce Young. I honestly think it's going to be C.J. Stroud just because of the reasons that I was explaining. Mm-hmm. I think he's more NFL ready. I honestly think that Bryce Young throws a prettier pass, but he's just, man, look, man, I don't know, man. He's just not big enough.
I get it, brother. Hey,
he's just not big enough. But they said that about Doug Flutie, too.
Well, we saw it with Tua Tagovailoa. We saw it with the kid with the,
he's smaller than Tua, right, Ray?
Well, you saw Russell Wilson, you saw Drew Brees. So for every quarterback like that, you're exactly right. Kyler Murray hasn't necessarily, transitioned.
I think Russell's bigger than this kid.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the difference between Bryce Young and Kyler Murray, other than the fact, one went to Oklahoma and the other one went to Alabama, played Lincoln Riley and Nick Saban, is the fact that this kid, Bryce Young, since he's in high school, we go back to Jameis. He was his own offensive coordinator back in Bessemer, Alabama. Okay, that was a great narrative 8 years ago. Bryce Young's been running offenses, running schemes. His dad tells a story, guys, true story. Believe it or not. The kid is 6 months old. He's a baby on the floor wrapped up in one of those baby Bjorns. And his father had a little puffy basketball football, and he used to drop it at him. And he would drop it, not on his face, but on his body. 6 months old, he's dropping the ball like he did every day, and Bryce Young reaches up and catches it.
It's almost sounding like the Immaculate Conception here.
Well, brother, but the thing is, what I'm saying is, you guys know I'm a sucker for a good narrative. 2019's best local columnist. And the kid shows these hand-eye coordination skills, been running his own offense since high school, not to take away from a C.J. Stroud or a Will Levis or a Richardson, but you're talking about a Frank Reich and what he wants to build around him. And one hit, you could have a 6'7", 400-pound quarterback. He takes a hit wrong in the knee, it bends the wrong way. He's out for 14 months with ACL, MCL. So your quarterback can always get hurt. The question is, are the Carolina Panthers wanting to buy that Bryce Young narrative and have that stud and look past the size, or is that more of a, because you're right, Harry, Frank Reich's prototypical quarterback was always going to be like a 6'4" tall type of a quarterback.
Yeah. And another thing, Ray, it's the one thing about Bryce Young that a lot of people don't talk about is he cannot stand in the pocket because honestly, he just can't see above the lineman. That is why he is so mobile first. And I think that's where I think it's going to catch up to him. Ouch. And when we were talking about, we were comparing quarterbacks like Russell Wilson to Bryce Young. The biggest glaring difference between these two quarterbacks, one's going to be drafted in the top two. Mm-hmm. The other one wasn't even in the first round. So there was no pressure. Absolutely zero pressure on Russell Wilson compared to what there's going to be on this young man with Bryce Young, and have disadvantages of height. Oof. That
Yep. Just to
that
give you an
that can
update
be
on
pretty glaring. And I understand the documentaries and everything is beautiful about him. And believe me, I appreciate everything that you're saying, but you can't get by that one thing, the speed of the game and that height.
Yep. Well, I mean, and that's going to be the big thing there if they take him number one
And they
overall.
probably will.
They probably will. Let me go back out to the comments here. Again, update on the score, 4-2 Tampa Bay Lightning. Now on a penalty kill because a penalty here on the Lightning. So we'll see what the power play is. Lightning have to kill this penalty at the end of the day. We'll see how it works out. I got 7 names, says Christopher Cole. KR says Luke go Bucks. Mickey says, hi, Christopher Cole. Christopher Cole. Miles Murphy will be my pick if the tackles are gone. Now, we've heard about him. Miles Murphy, edge rusher out of Clemson. What would you guys
Good player. I think he's going top 15 though. Unfortunately, he's one of the premier rushers in college football.
Well, I thought it was interesting what Luke said because Darnell Wright has been associated with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 19, but he said it best. He could actually go number 9, Ray Kennedy, and I'll go back to you here in a moment. I mean, would you be surprised by Darnell Wright, right tackle, possibly even a left tackle going to the Chicago Bears?
No, not at all. I mean, that's what I personally think that they're going to do. I think a lot of people are blowing a lot of smoke screen over there. I don't know about Jalen Carter going to Chicago. I think they're going to go tackle. I just do. I just think they're going to get that. And I think what the Chicago Bears are going to do, especially with all that money that they have, they're still waiting for the scraps to come by, especially for what players are going to be cut.
Yeah.
They're going to draft a couple of mid to late round defensive players, but I think they're going to address that offensive line personally. That's just my opinion.
Let me go back to it here. Darnell Wright to the Chicago Bears, Ray. Would you be disappointed? Because a lot of Bucs fans hope that he lasts until 19. It was talk he was going to. Now his stock may be going up. What do you say, Ray?
Well, that's why you had the Buccaneers in the rumor on Friday that they were one of 2 teams that were inquiring about the possibility of trading up from number 19.
Update on the
Lightning.
score, a power play goal, and it looks like it's the same man again, Austin Matthews with the honors, and it gets a little bit closer now.
They're tough, man.
4-3.
Toronto's tough, baby. They are a tough team.
Go ahead.
But the Bucs, the rumor was on Friday, the Bucs were one of 2 teams that were possibly looking to move up, and people were like, "Oh, it's Will Levis, it's a quarterback," and I'm like, "Hey guys, Dave Canales just got his first job as an OC. He hasn't proven himself to be Mike Holmgren or Bill Walsh. He doesn't. I don't know if this guy's a maker of kings. So let's not. We got Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. Let's not talk about trading up to go get the franchise quarterback. We've already got 2 guys that could possibly be the franchise quarterback." And I said that if Jason Light's moving up, it's because he sees that offensive lineman or he sees that linebacker that he knows that can, be an anchor on this team and secure us moving forward. So wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. And Jason Light knows the offensive line to address in the first round. But we know Jason Light finds his offensive lineman in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. He finds them out of Hofstra. He finds them out of so he finds his offensive lineman elsewhere. That's Jason Light's true talent, is his evaluation of talent, and he's one of the best in the league.
And whether there's an offensive lineman on the line or on the board or not, I'm not sure if they go with one, and I'll tell you why. Because Luke Gedeke was a 2nd-round pick. His natural position is right tackle. I don't see Jason Light turning the page on him. I think they go with an edge rusher. I do think they could go with the Bijan Robinson if he's on the board. A big if, depending on Philadelphia, because Philadelphia is one of those teams that talked to him, although there was a rumor put out there that they could be trading for Derrick Henry.
Speaking of Philadelphia, wasn't it stupid of Devin White when he was? I said Devin's trying to get that bag. He's trying to take care of Devin White. He's, he's doing a Roquan Smith. He's putting his name out there. He's letting him know he doesn't want to get this. Because here's the fact of the matter: if this Buccaneers defense has a success in 2023 that they should, Devin White could get a little lost in there. Levante's wearing the throwbacks. You got Sack Avenue, Logan Ryan up front. You got Logan Hall. You got all the offense. You got everyone going crazy. You got Jamel Dean. You got Antoine Winfield. He could get lost in this defense. So I think he was just trying to put his name out there. But if you're going to put your name or you're going to say go green, don't go to the team that just paid Jalen Hurts the biggest contract in the history of the league and doesn't have the money to pay $100 million for a middle linebacker, you silly fool.
Well, I mean, and that's going to be the talk, and we're going to see what happens on draft night because he's asked for a trade. It's assumed that the Bucs are not going to do anything, but who knows? At the end of the day, maybe they get a deal that they can't refuse. I mean, Greek, what do you say? Devin White, should we watch for him to be traded on draft night, possibly the day after? Could that happen?
Zero chance.
Zero chance. Okay.
Zero chance. He's going to have to play on what he's got, and he's going to be on a prove-it deal. It's real simple. And nobody going to pay him $100 million.
Okay.
Not going to happen.
Okay.
Not going to happen. Roquan Smith never should have got that $100 million either.
Oh, and Harry, I'll
and he's better than Devin White.
Yes,
let me paraphrase that for you really quick here. Okay, you guys want to call me a homer? White couldn't hold Roquan Smith's jockstrap when it comes to covering receivers or tight ends coming off on an offense. Zero chance. Roquan's bigger, faster, stronger, hits harder. But I'm going to tell you something right here. I'm not taking anything away from White. White's a hell of a linebacker. But to pay him $100 million
when he wants to be, when he's not inconsistent, which is the question.
Well, no, Harry. Well, Peter, like TJ Reeves said the other night, Jason Light's got a history of taking care of his guys. You show up, you show out. And with the problem with Shaq Barrett's injury up front, with the setback in the defensive line season. With the setback in the defensive line last season, because of why? Oh, yeah, the complete lack of an offense. No running game, no retaining the ball. The defense was back on the field every 2.5 minutes on average during the game. Because, and Harry, this is you. He was exposed. He didn't come back. He was exposed for his coverage skills. But you get the defensive line going again, Jamel Dean, Antoine Winfield. You got our secondary, Carlton Davis. Now we're starting to talk about the fact that you can let that sideline Devin White. You can let him meet. I still think that middle linebacker with Lafante being 102 years old is where Jason Light's looking. That's got to be number 1 or 2 on the Buccaneer draft board come Thursday.
And you know what? Another thing is, you're right, Ray. And I did make that. I didn't say he regressed. Everybody's talking about Devin White regressing. That's not the case. All he did is he got exposed. And the reason why he got exposed is because the front four wasn't getting to the quarterback. When you're missing Shaq, was it Shaq Barrett? Hang on. Am I speaking correctly?
Yeah, it's Shaq. It's definitely Shaq Barrett. And you're also
when you're missing your two defensive ends that were getting a ton of pressure on there. Look, there is no middle linebacker in the National Football League that plays today that has great coverage skills. Not one.
Mm-hmm.
They have adequate coverage skills when the front four is getting pressure up on that quarterback. Okay. When you don't get pressure on that quarterback, if you're a mediocre coverage guy for a linebacker, it becomes really, really looking bad. However, with that being said, he didn't regress. They just found his deficiencies. And you know what? I don't hold anything against the player that says, I was bored. No,
I do. And I think
I don't. It's something stupid came out of his mouth.
But it's the effort on the line. When he's saying I'm bored, it's a bad optic. But when you're showing that type of effort on the field, that is regression. And he's still not great in coverage. He's still not a consistent.
He never was good in coverage, Pete.
But
no, that was just
We've seen him at his best, and that was 2020. And ever since he had that 2020 year, and ever since he won that Super Bowl, his play has suffered. Whether you want to blame it on somebody else or not,
I'm not blaming it on anybody. I just said he got exposed.
Leader on the team, you've got to step up play, and it starts not only with athletic ability, it starts with effort, and he's not always giving that effort. And I think that's
Pete. I said this. I'm sorry to cut you off, brother, but I said this last year when Devin said he was bored last year. Just like in Ratatouille, where the critic gets taken back to where he's a kid and his grandmother is making ratatouille because he smelled the food and it reminded him. It reminded me of the 2000-2001 Buccaneers defense when we had an offense that couldn't get their way out of a phone booth. And you had that last season. Tom was going through some real stuff, and that offense, they couldn't run the ball to save their butts.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's when Shaq said he was bored. Wait, I said
4-4.
Yep.
I said butts?
4-4.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep, that's all right. It's now 4-4. The Lightning have officially blown a 4-1 lead in the third period.
Nothing personal. I got to go. I got a ton of money riding on this game. If the Bolts blow this game, I am going to literally, Ray, you'll have to come over and meet me out front and help me kill this bottle of Ouzo.
Wait, is that good or bad?
It's really good.
Okay, I'll be over.
I got Ouzo. I don't.
Let's let the Lightning win, though.
You're betting on the Lightning, and it looks like Tavares is shielding him, and the crease there's nobody around, and Vasilevsky has no chance on that goal either.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Does this happen to Vasi 2 years ago?
No.
Yeah. No, because it's Vazzy's not Vazzy's fault. The problem this year is he's actually got a team in front of him, but when that team in front of him has a breakdown, his exposure, he's getting blocked out. He's not.
What was
seeing
that
the
word
puck.
you used?
Exposed.
So you're
That's
saying
exactly what I'm talking about, Ray.
Oh,
It's
you want
not
me to
regrushing, it's exposed.
Yes, it is.
okay. All right. Harry, do you want to get off the line
Yes,
here?
I really do. I got to watch this, man.
All right,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
I do. Love you guys, but this is how the Greeks got to make some money sometimes. You all know how you do this. You can catch me here Monday and Wednesday nights right here live on the Sports Web with Peter Blake and sometimes Mr. Raymond Kennedy. And, of course, special guest. I'm Harry the Greek. I always say keep your bets low and your returns high. But in this case, just hit for the moon. Just bet Peter a plate of wings. Trust me, he's a sucker for anything. You guys
lose.
have a good night.
All right. See you later. Professional handicapper extraordinaire, 1252 Chicago Sports. Get out of here. Let's go ahead and go back out to the comments here. Want to read them. Hi, Christopher Cole, Miles Murphy. We talked about that. KR says, woo! All right. Go Bolts right there. Absolutely. But struggling right now. We don't care about hockey. We're not Northerners. Speak for yourself.
This guy sucks.
Roger says hockey is too complicated for Troy. Absolutely. It's a good
Flawless
actually
victory.
a really good comment there. Hit the like button. Absolutely. Roger says Bijan to the Bears. Let me go back to it. Would you have a problem with Bijan Robinson as a running back? Because a lot of people say, well, you don't draft a running back in the first round. Would you have a problem with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking him at 19, knowing what you know about him being a generational talent? Would you have a problem with them taking him? If he's
Well, I go back to James Canada, host of the Big Game Sports Buzz, former Buccaneer, former Colt, good friend of ours, good friend of the show. And he's there in Texas, locking it down with this, again, big Game Sports Buzz. And he saw it. He said he knows Bijan up close and personal. He sees that kid. He's there. He lives there. He said if that guy's on the board at 19, Jason Light, you pivot. You look to pivot. My only problem with drafting a running back at 19, as much of a cultural change, even with a Rashad White and even with a Chase Edmonds, even with a Keyshawn Vaughn, went to Vanderbilt, the Ivy League of the SEC, and was a leader in that league. The problem I have with a running back off the board in the first round is that middle linebacker, defensive line, offensive line, quarterback. These are the contracts you want to get a first round pick because you got a 5-year contract, rookie contract. It's slotted. It gives a team the ability to make money elsewhere and to continue to build depth. Running backs these days, I'm not saying they're going completely kaput, but those contracts are nowhere near a defensive, a good edge rusher or a good quarterback. So you're not going to get that. Jason Light's not going to get that draft capital or that 5-year rookie contract that he can work with a little bit. But yet, if you're getting a guy that's going to come in here and change the culture, to give Canales a running back to go with Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin and a Cade Otton and an offensive line that's not reloading or rebuilding, but reloading, and a great quarterback competition. If Bijan's on the board at 19 and Jason Light and Todd Bowles agree that kid can be the cultural change for this team, then yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me keep on reading these comments. Triple H just debuted a new World Heavyweight Championship belt on Raw. It's been 18 years since we had WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Very cool. Good stuff there. Cool story, bro. Let me know when Leah Mysterio is in a bra and panty match. Ben Cornett, unless Mayfield gets hurt, Trask will not be the starting quarterback come a week 1. Mickey again, Rays 8, Peter 3.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Hurry up. Raw is on. Sorry, Ralph. Trophy Yellow smiling a punter in the first round. CJ Stroud can't read a book past the 3rd grade level.
This guy sucks.
Roger says you're probably right, Troy. No, he's not. And come on.
Shut up.
Greekites rejoice. Rogers is gone. We'll get back to that in a moment because I want to get your thoughts on that. Ben Harris says, hey, guys, great show. Random off subject. But what do you think about 15 players enter?
I don't know.
I think he's talking about that report where there aren't even 15 players that are in this draft that are first-round grades. I mean, and that's what it comes down to. And a lot of people are saying, you know what? And just looking at this Lightning game while I'm doing this, that may tell a story. Again, you get the best player on the board and it's a running back, you got to take him. I mean, that may be the case. And the reason why you're looking at the situation like this is because a lot of people may be overdrafting for a quarterback because simply they love the potential. They love the upside. Like we talked about Anthony Richardson, he may get overdrafted because he's really not a first-round player. at the end of the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but also as far as there's not 15 players that are first round picks. We do a lot when we do our draft analysis. Looking forward, we always look backward, and you go back and look at the drafts from the last 25 years, and you go, oh, hit, miss. Oh, the Giants drafted Andrews in this one, and the Bucs traded up one spot to draft Tristan Wirfs. Mekhi Becton's injured again. You can always go back and look. You got a John Lynch in the fourth. You got a Rondé Barber in the third. You got players that you draft throughout the entire, depending on what team they go to, that become Hall of Fame players. So it's kind of one of the reasons why the draft is as exciting as it is, but it's also as hard to put a finger on. It's because it's not so much always necessarily the quality of the player you're drafting in the slot you're slotted to draft in, but it's also the team they're going to, the success they'll have, and then the opportunity they're given because of the system they're going to. So, 15 players, I almost can name 8 edge rushers that are almost first round worthy from 1 to 32. And that's just edge. Forget the 4 quarterbacks, forget the top 4 receivers. And then we start talking about the secondary, which you'll have a secondary player going in the first 5 picks, that secondary, the defensive back from, what am I thinking here now? I'm trying to think of not Ohio State, but, Alabama. But, so as far as 15 players.
You got Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech, who's come out of nowhere, but because the Texans love his workout and love the potential. They love the potential, the upside. He may not be a first-round player, and I think that's what Ben is going with. But to your point, you're exactly right. I think there's a lot of unknown in this draft. There's a lot of potential. We may be talking about some of these players eventually living up to that potential. It's the most overly used word. Or in the next couple of years, we may be talking about how, once again, a first-round player, a first-round quarterback is a bust, or this guy didn't necessarily reach that.
Well, let me ask you this, Pete. Forget about which team he goes to. I apologize, brother.
Yeah.
But my background on Johnson out of Texas, the running back Bijan, was limited until I started doing a little deep dive, and I still haven't done a deep enough dive where I can go, oh, and the guy's nowhere near.
He's a 3-down back. He's a back that you could put in there, average 22 carries a game for Texas. He's explosive. He's a home run hitter. He's got that second gear where he gets out to open field. It's goodbye. See you later. He's got this peripheral where he always finds he adjusts it, go left and right, left. He adjusts to the hole. And I love again that point you made with Luke Easterling earlier. The Buccaneers and Canales, where they like to go to that averaging 4.8 yards a carry on offense, because that gives a Geno Smith a chance to have that success. Update: we are going to overtime right now as the Lightning blew a 4-1 lead. Now it is 4-4. Both teams going into overtime in Game 4, a must-win situation for your Tampa Bay Lightning. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll update on that situation. You're exactly right. And I think, again, a lot of people will say, well, you don't draft a running back. Well, he may be a special player that you can't pass up. And I always go back to 2007. I go back to 2017. And we're going to talk about, some Bucs draft history when it comes on the sports web. And 2017 pains me because I really thought they should have drafted a Dalvin Cook, and maybe Jason Light makes up for it if Robinson, it's a big if, but if he's on the board, I say you got to take him, or Gibbs out of.
Don't forget though. I'll go back and I'll tell you the reason why the Bucs don't draft Dalvin Cook, and that was literally not just because there were rumors that we still had Jameis. Jameis was still acting a bit immature. He was still taking Uber rides and trying to give more than a tip out in Phoenix. I'm just going to say that. I'll leave that there. And Dalvin and Jameis, there were some that were saying that these guys, when they were back at FSU, were kind of tight. And it wasn't so much that I don't think that Jason Light and the Buccaneers discounted what a Dalvin Cook could do for a team, but I think they were still trying to put their point in their line in the sand that said, hey, Jameis, we're not going to bring in your bros. We're not going to just make this an FSU South. You still have to earn your bones. Now, I don't know if Jason Light would not draft a Dalvin Cook just to make that point, but you and I both know the narrative was that Dalvin and Jameis were close. Bring them together, but yet Jameis was still acting immature. And at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for your franchise quarterback, even if it means leaving a good running back on the board.
Well, and see, they've done this in the past too. A lot of teams that did it, but I go back to 2007, right? You get Gaines Adams because that's a need at the time, but Adrian Peterson's on the board, and the reason why you don't look at Adrian Peterson is because you have Cadillac Williams. I'm just saying to the fans right now, if he's on the board, don't lose your mind if they take him, because he may be one of the best players in the draft. Again, open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Again, the other number 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. You're in the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Best of the Bay, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy here, just 3 days away from the NFL draft. Let's read these comments, okay? Buffalo, 15 players entered the transfer portal protocol after the spring game. That would be the Colorado Buffaloes, and I think that's bound to happen with Deion Sanders. A lot of players rubbed the wrong way, and he said it when he came in at his introductory press conference that there's a lot of players that are not going to want to play for him. They're not going to want to be a part of the program.
Wait, so 50? I saw that break on the Athletic. You're saying after they were on a secondary market, they did 45,000 on a freezing with snow flurry day there in Colorado.
Yeah.
After the spring game, 15 players went into it?
Who had over 125 yards of receiving in that spring game decided to get into the portal. I mean, you get a coach like Deion, he's gonna rub some people the wrong way.
Well, I'm gonna make my call. I'm gonna
but
call
also
myself.
that team, how many wins did they have last year? So maybe you cut that slack out. Maybe it's not necessarily a big loss at the end of the day.
Yeah, but if they were still on the script at this point for spring ball, that means at least Deion was signing off on the fact that they at least could have a shot.
Now they basically have given him the indicator that they're not fully committed. You know, those players in the first place. Guys, they just may not be a part of the future of Deion's future.
Well, it's not just that. I think it's also the fact that Deion understands how Deion, Primetime understands how the portal works, and he knows the transfer portal's coming up on one more quick jump here in the spring before we get to summer ball, and he's letting everybody know. He put the sign out front that said, vacancy.
Yeah, they're absolutely right. All right, let's go on to Troy. Ray just wants a warm cup of top ramen and a few blankets. Okay.
This guy sucks.
Corey says, I thought I could hear a trash can tonight. Corey says, Leafs cheating referees helping them. Christopher Cole, lazy defense allowed those 2 goals. Roger says, Harry, I love Uzo. Ben says, wow, 4-4 Lightning Maple Leafs. Yes, we're updating you. They're going into overtime right now. Maple Leafs cheating referee helping the Maple Leafs cheat. No, that's just bad defense. It's also a team that wants to prove themselves. They've been eliminated how many times now in the first round, and they smell blood in the water. The Lightning have a 4-1 lead, and the effort is not there, especially with this Lightning defense.
Well, Pete, let me tell you, the entire game, I mean, I've been watching this game since the first puck, and the entire game, the Lightning, this long in the tooth, 2 out of 3 Stanley Cups, this veteran team that's older with Stamkos and Braden Point and Victor Hedman, Victor Hedman's 73 years old. This Lightning team, they've been applying the pressure. The puck's been in the Maple Leaf zone 70% of the game. But the problem again is, though, that because when you're playing that strong and you give a young team like Toronto a chance for the fast break in the opening on your defensive end because you're so busy trying to apply that forward pressure. But the Lightning, the thing we've learned with these Lightning, this John Cooper-led Lightning is they don't play that old New Jersey Devils, throw it into the zone and play defense. They just keep applying the pressure. The problem is that when you're applying that pressure, you let a team like Toronto get back behind you and get that opening on Vasilevsky. I can tell you right now, I haven't seen those 2 goals. I bet they're not on Vazzy. They're on the fact that because we're applying pressure forward, Toronto gets the puck in our zone, and it ends up being in the basket.
Yeah, no chance at all. And you're getting players around the crease, which is creating those high shot opportunities or high scoring opportunities, if you will. And then you're always playing with fire. And at the end of the day, you go back to game 3. It looked like the Lightning had that game and should have had that game. Outplayed Toronto in period 3 instead of that 1 minute. That 1 minute where they score and tie it up and go to overtime. And then they outshot Toronto in game 3, 16-7. And somehow Toronto pulls out that win. So
if we go,
the Lightning off their heels.
After giving up that puck the other night in the last minute and then tonight's game to overtime, let's hope the Lightning pull this out. But you made a great statement a little while ago in a must win. If we go back to Toronto on Thursday down 1-3, it's not as bad as it was against the Columbus Blue Jackets when John Tortorella came in and swept us. But it's the next worst thing, and I feel kind of weird. I feel gluttonous saying
I don't think it's a worse thing. I think what it is, it's tough to go.
It's tough.
go back to Toronto down 3-1. Would you rule this Lightning team out? No, because they have Vasilevsky. They still have their core, but you're not playing a full game. And we just talked about it. What happened in the last game 3 and tonight when they had a 4-1 lead, Toronto looks like the better team right now. And defensive mistakes are coming back to haunt this Lightning team, and Toronto is making them pay for it. If you want to talk about this game or the NFL draft or your Tampa Bay Rays winning, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. So, yes, 4-4 there. Maple Leafs cheating. That's what Corey's saying. Troll King right there, Troy. Read the dang comments, bro. Give to the YouTube chats, bro.
This guy sucks.
Fredo says, what time does it start? It starts at 8 o'clock, a special start time on Wednesday night. Go ahead and zell me. If we're on Facebook together, go ahead and inbox me. Tell me what team you want. Carolina's out there. Houston's out there. Arizona is out there. The Indianapolis Colts. So there's more of an opportunity with those teams to win lunch here from the Sports Web. Let's go out to Roger. Game going to overtime. Absolutely. Mickey says, hi, Corey King. How are you? And Mickey again, Troy, stay in your lane. That's actually a great comment.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more here. You don't have anywhere to go, right? You and Ruth are good?
I'm good, except I want to tell you, brother, I'm down to about 11% on my battery, so I apologize. I should have charged it better, but let's do this.
All right, what do you make about Todd McShay and what he said? Speaking of Tampa Bay, everyone is trying to figure out its plan. The Buccaneers have been very quiet. There's some mystery around their approach, but some people have wondered if they would be in on a quarterback if one drops. Continue to hear this, that quarterbacks like a Will Levis could be there, a Hendon Hooker could be there. People say Anthony Richardson. You know how I feel about that. Even a C.J. Stroud, and I want to read this from Peter King. I can't believe this. C.J. Stroud is reportedly no longer a surefire top 5 selection. Peter King also says he believes Stroud isn't even a lock to go within the top 7 picks. One NFL executive recently said that he has labeled Stroud as a bust after a low score of 18 on the S2 test. One NFL executive also said he's never had someone grade low on that test and play well. Your thoughts on this? Are they making too big of a deal about this? Is somebody trying to get him to fall down to them? Is this a smokescreen, or is this a player like an Aaron Rodgers who was originally thought in 2005 he was going to be the number 1 overall pick? It happens to be Alex Smith. And then, of course, Rodgers, who, by the way, was traded from the Packers to the Jets today for multiple picks, drops all the way down to 22 in the Packers' lap. What do you make of this?
C.J. Stroud is the Ohio State factor, and the Ohio State factor being that they don't run a pro-style offense. They run the Ohio State, the Buckeye offense. But if C.J. Stroud falls out of the top 5, there's a team in this league that's getting a steal. I still say Bryce Young moves to number 1. But as far as McShay saying that Buccaneers are possibly a team in pursuit of a quarterback, Peter, I'm going to give you a simple thing. I'm going to give you a simple 2-word answer, and I'll leave it at this. 3 words, the Brady effect. We just lost the greatest of all time. They think there's a vacuum. We've got Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask competing. They're going to bring a 3rd quarterback in here, possibly in more than the 4th round. That's going to come in here and be a camp arm, and maybe someday, 5 years down the road, your franchise quarterback. But if you think this Buccaneers team, you think Jason Light is going to move up into the 1st round to bring another quarterback in here for an unproven offensive coordinator in Canales. We haven't even learned if this guy can call the right plays. He's not shown he's a maker of kings. That would be the silliest thing that I've seen as a Buccaneers fan, and I've seen some silly not the silliest thing, but it'd be up there.
All right, let me go back out to the rumors because it is speculation season. According to Albert Breer, what you need to know, I've heard rumors that the Buccaneers would make a move up for a quarterback. I'm not buying it. For one, I think the staff there is excited to see what they can do with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. For another, I know when another team called them about moving down with the Bucs potentially coming up, Tampa Bay didn't show much interest in doing it. This, according to Albert Breer, and of course, Joe Bucs fan. So what do you think? What do you think about that? That seems to be more realistic than the whole possibility of them moving up for Levis or if Anthony Richardson happened to fall. Peter King also believes that Darnell Wright will be the pick back from Tennessee. When we talked to Luke Easterling about it, he doesn't even think he's going to be on the board. He thinks he's going to be gone by number 9. Seahawks, Anthony Richardson. That's the rumor there. They just signed Geno Smith, but could Anthony Richardson head to the Seattle Seahawks? Do you buy that? Because they realistically don't have a young quarterback option. And because they have signed Geno Smith to a couple-year deal, which I don't necessarily know he's going to see that whole deal, you get a guy that you can develop. You don't have to throw him in right away. He's got the most upside. Anthony Richardson to the Seattle Seahawks. You either take him or there's been talk about Jalen Carter at 5. Where do you see this going?
Well, going back to the Buccaneers, let me tell you right now, if Baker Mayfield wasn't currently on this Buccaneer roster, and I'm only giving Baker the benefit of the doubt for a quarterback competition with Kyle Trask, I think it is a fully open field, even if Baker maybe comes in ahead at 60-40. But if Baker wasn't on his team, if you had Kyle Trask and Blaine Gabbert and Griffin was still holding a clipboard, then I would be taking off, use my fingers and toes to figure out how many draft picks Jason Light's trading to move up into the top 5 so the Buccaneers can draft their franchise quarterback. It's not happening, guys and girls. And as far as the Seattle Seahawks, you got to ask yourself, is Pete Carroll all of a sudden, is that what he thinks is, because now the 49ers are going with Brock Purdy and they're going away from Trey Lance. You could almost see a Trey Lance somehow ending up in Seattle. I don't know if Richardson's the guy, and I don't know if Pete Carroll is looking to bet his future to draft another quarterback in the top 10 when, you bring a Wagner back at linebacker, but that guy's like 83 years old, and you want him to possibly put some talent in other places so you can continue to be at the top every time. You just got Geno. You're right. Geno's not there for more than maybe another 2 years, but at the same time, do you really bet the franchise and go up in the first round and get that quarterback? I don't know.
Yeah, well, you don't have to go up there and get him unless he gets taken by Indianapolis or somebody trades up for him at Arizona's pick, and that's where it could be. But I mean, again, I go back to Houston. I'm kind of believing that they could pass up on a quarterback at 2, maybe draft one at 12, or altogether pass up on a quarterback, go with Harry's guy, Davis Mills, for a year. And if you stink, you go for a Caleb Williams. Now, before we came on air, it was made official, and this is reported by NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, that the Bucs have picked up the 5th-year option for offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs.
Why would they do that?
Well, hold on.
I'm kidding.
Right. Well, why wouldn't they do that?
Right.
$2 million locks him to the organization through 2024. You're such a smart ass. Of course, the 13th overall selection where the Bucs had to make a move to trade up. I heard a lot of groaning by fans out there when they didn't know. Why did they do that? Why did they do that? Because he was the best tackle in the draft.
Well, Peter, they did that until literally you and I both posted that video of him jumping out of the pool. Right. And then all of a sudden people were like, oh, and we've got the greatest of all time at quarterback, and now he's going to be his protection on the front side. And don't forget, we suspended belief when we said, well, Donovan Smith is his backside protection. I'm kidding.
Right, exactly. Right. And there may be maybe switching positions there. Tristan Wirfs may be on the left side, Luke Gedeke at right. That's what I kind of assume, because I'm not sure if there is a tackle on the board if Bears watching on Thursday night. With that being said, give me your best draft memory when talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and give me your worst year where the Bucs drafted somebody that you were like, mine. It's 2017. I didn't like the O.J. Howard pick. I understood it, but I didn't like it. They should have taken Dalvin Cook at the time. I know my best memory, I think it goes back to 95. That's one. 2015 for me, Jameis Winston at the time. I'm with Sean, the sports don. Hope, spring, eternal optimism that this kid could come in and turn this team around. Of course, it didn't necessarily happen, but yeah, I knew he was going to be the pick. And I thought there was going to be something that came out of it. What's your best memory? What's your worst memory when talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their draft history?
1990, I want to say it was 6, maybe 5, but I think it was 96. I'm over at Disney. I'm over at the Fort Wilderness campgrounds. I had rented my family had rented one of the little, we usually bring our campers, but we rented one of their, and I'm in there. The family went to do the check-in, and a couple of family members went over to the Magic Kingdom, and I'm sitting there watching the NFL draft live there on my own, getting some things set up. And of course, they go after the Fresno State quarterback, Ted Tedford taught Trent Dilfer. and they drafted
that's actually 94.
94.
And this is Mel Kiper going back and forth at the time with Bill Tobin, who's the general manager. And Tobin yes, and Bill Tobin goes, my mailman knows more than Mel Kiper. And then, of course, because at the time the Colts took Trev Alberts, I believe, and didn't take him. And of course, he fell to the Bucs, and the Bucs took him at number 6, I believe.
Yes, the golden mullet. The golden mullet.
Yes. So that was your best memory?
Well, because I was at Disney and I was enjoying it. I was feeling the jazz. It was back then. It wasn't Thursday night. That was a Saturday draft. That's the way we did it back then. They didn't have.
Yep.
So that was the first round on Saturday afternoon. And of course, my worst draft pick, and I do remember it, was in 1983, and that was because, or 82, but that was because the Bucs, after drafting Sean Farrell out of Penn State, when Booker Reese is still on the board, they trade up again. They trade away their first round pick in 83 to go after Booker Reese out of Bethune-Cookman. Of course, that guy washed out of the league, and he still has troubles to this day. You know, whatever. I'm not going to go into that history. And of course, in 83, the Bucs don't have a first-round pick. We had let Doug Williams walk, and of course, 83, Dan Marino goes to 22 to Miami, but that was the Marino, Elway, Jim Kelly.
Well, did he go? I think he went later than that. I think he went 28.
Who's that?
Marino.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, later in the first round, but the problem is that we give Chicago our first round pick the year before to go because and the story is, if you don't mind me telling this,
you get Jack Thompson at the time
to throw in Samoan. But the story was the Buccaneers had given Phil Kruger. He was not Phil Kruger, but I don't think it was. Anyway, it was we let our equipment manager go to New York. We said, look, sit at the table. You answer the phone. We'll tell you what the draft pick is. And they didn't know. The Bucs didn't know right up to the draft whether it was going to be Farrell or Booker Reese. And so they pick up the phone and they actually said Booker Reese. But at the time, the Giants had just had a pick in a room. He misunderstood because they had told him in advance it's either this guy or this guy. He thought that they said go after Farrell, but what the Bucs wanted was Reese. So they go up there, they take the thing to the podium. The Buccaneers with their first round pick select offensive guard or tackle out of Penn State, Sean Farrell. Well, when Booker Reese was still on the board in the second round, the Buccaneers brass thought, well, we're going to hit a home run. We were going to take this guy at number first round, but now he's still there. Let's trade away 83. But then they didn't think about the fact that they let Doug Williams walk to the Arizona Outlaws or whatever it was of the USFL, eventually the Washington Redskins under Joe Gibbs again. But we would have been in the draft next year. We take Jack Thompson, Booker Reese washes out 2 years later, and the Buccaneers spent the next 15 years trying to find a franchise quarterback. And some would say we never found one until Tom Brady came in 2020.
I agree. Absolutely. Another favorite draft for me, favorite draft memory is 1997 when you draft the great work done in Riedel Anthony. Work done. Great player, Florida State. I loved them coming out of college. I didn't think they were going to get him. I mean, that was good times.
That was good.
And I was talking to my buddy the other night, Jason Powers, on the No Quarter Given podcast on the BuckPower.com podcast network, and he made a great point. I mean, that was really the first time the Bucs were drafting premium picks out of Florida, and it was a good time to do that because Florida was unbelievable at the time. Of course, yes. Florida State was unbelievable. You get Warren Sapp, you get Derek Brooks too. During that time in 95, he said 95, that's when they started doing it, and they did it a couple years later there with Dunn and of course Riedel.
Well, Peter, let me go ahead and follow this up. I used the Trent Dilfer because I was at Disney and it was a perfect day and it was Saturdays with the draft. But I to this day, and I've never been shy about this. I've said this many times and I'll continue to say it till the day I die. I had tears the day that Warren Sapp dropped to us.
Really?
And oh no, I cried. And let me tell you why, because I haven't followed the Heisman Trophy since the year they didn't give it. They gave it to Rashaan Salam, the running back out of Colorado, ironically enough. And the fact that Warren Sapp was the best player in college football. He was the price of admission. Nobody had to get off like Warren Sapp. He was the best interior defensive lineman I've ever seen. And because of some rumors about the fact that he failed some drug tests, which we come to find out was marijuana, which these days, by the way, what is that all about? When Warren Sapp fell to the Bucs, I cried. But then when we also get Derek Brooks at 22 out of Florida State, I knew that this team, and I want to say it's 22. I could be wrong. I'll default to you on that. But I knew that this team had turned a corner on a Rich McKay. But when Warren Sapp to this day, cried the day we drafted Warren Sapp because I realized what that character meant to this team. And then a year later, we bring in Tony Dungy from Minnesota as our coach. And the league back then, and to this day, some would say still in 2023, real slow to give minority coaches a chance. And Tony Dungy was sitting there spinning his wheels in the defensive coordinator position for the Minnesota Vikings, and they brought him here. It was kismet, brother, and the rest is history.
The rest is history, and I believe Minnesota at the time did pass up on him. The Jets also passed up on him. They actually took Florida State defensive end Derek Alexander at the time, and Dungy said later on, he really wanted to work with Sapp, and he got the opportunity to do that. Update on the score right now: Tampa Bay still tied with the Maple Leafs, but Toronto on a power play, about 25 seconds left. We'll see if the Lightning can kill off this penalty right now, but yeah, it's kind of and he just said, Roger just said it, and there you go. It's over with.
Hey, Peter, wait, it's over with.
The Leafs. The Lightning have just blown a 4-1 lead to lose in overtime to the Toronto Maple Leafs 5-4. Let's go out to Roger Shue. Roger, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend.
Peter Blake. All right, you just read it out. Leafs win.
Yep. We just got the update here, just watching the replay right now. Wow. And again, yeah.
So what, is the series tied or?
No, series is not tied. Toronto's up 3-1 right now. This was really a must-win game for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and now they've got a big-time hole they're going to have to dig out of. And it looks like it was deflected by Kerfoot there. Stick side, and it was right in the crease. Once again, guy just standing right in the crease like we've seen all friggin' night long. All right, Roger, thanks a lot for the update. Appreciate you. All right. Disappointing. Very, very, very disappointing.
I'm going to say this, though, brother, because we still have an undefeated Rays team at home. The Lightning are
Rays really quick, yeah.
Go ahead. No, let's talk about the Rays, because I'm literally got about 2% left here, so you're going to drop me in a minute. I apologize for that. But
20-3 for the year. They beat the Astros tonight. Go ahead and recap the game really quick, and then we'll get you out of here, because I'm probably going to get out of here, honestly.
Brother, let me go ahead and say this first of all. I've been so impressed with Yandy Diaz at first base. Choi is no longer with the team this season. We're like, what's the defense like at first base? Yandy digs another one out tonight. The defense is going great. They continue to home runs. Randy Arozarena playing solid. You had Taj Bradley, the rookie. That's the only thing that's probably, if you're going to look for any kind of downside to the success the Braves have again tonight and staying undefeated at home, is a Taj Bradley is the kind of pitcher the Rays would have brought up, had a little flirt with, and put him back down. They love to control options, but because of the fact that Glasnow actually pitched today, he actually pitched down there in Double-A, and so look to get Tyler Glasnow back. But and Eflin back yesterday is solid. But Taj Bradley, the Rays have probably kept him up longer than they would like to. So in the future, they're not going to have the options on this kid like they do. So that's one of the things. But that's what I wanted to talk to you about, Peter, is the fact that the Rays keep a Taj Bradley up to stay competitive, to keep this winning streak going. And it's going to end at some point. It's the dog days of summer, and the American League East is such a tight division. But keeping a Bradley up here shows that these Rays are committed to continue to win. And I still say, come July or August, if it's a bat we need, if it's an arm we need, if it's a reliever we need. Pete Fairbanks passes J.P. Howell for all-time consecutive scoreless innings with the Rays this week, so that was solid. But the Rays are doing good. We hope the Lightning can come back, but going to Toronto on Thursday down 3-1, it's a tall order, but who knows? It's Tampa Bay. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's Thursday, and that's draft night, so We'll update you on that situation, where we're going to be. Not necessarily sure where we're going to be on Thursday night. We'll update you on that. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend.
Brother, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me use your Facebook page on Sunday mornings. I had a great run.
Yes.
I'm not sure who Michelle is, but she was coming strong with the comments yesterday. You should check her out. I think it was Michelle. She wants to do lunch. I offered to buy her lunch too, but she thought she was talking to me. But she was awesome. Cup of Ray, just locking it down here, and just like you guys and girls out there, just talking sports. Let's have a conversation here. If nothing else about social media, I'm not talking about politics. I'm not talking about sales. I'm not talking about life. If nothing else is good about this medium, it's the fact that Roger Shue, Harry the Greek, Peter and I, Luke Easterling, we can all have this conversation. We can all talk. And at the end of the day, maybe there's a few drops we all enjoy. It's like water cooler talk, but on your social media. I'm Cuppa Ray Kennedy, Tampa Bay Ray. Pete, thanks for having me. I love you, brother.
Love you too, brother. Great stuff as always. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. Thanks a lot for your time here on The Evolution.
Take care, brother.
All right, so that's it. Yep, the Bolts blew it. I don't know what to say, guys. We're gonna get the update from Leo Haggerty, but I just felt like getting off air right now because I cannot believe I just saw or witnessed what happened. But that's the reason why you play a full hockey game. And the last 2 games, this team has not been able to do that. Just put it out there. You know, you can't let guys in the crease. You can't let guys hang out and have all that room on the ice and have all that spacing. And again, no defensive stops after the 4-1. It seemed like the Leafs had all the momentum, and that's what happened. Just watching it tonight. So disappointing results. Let me go out to Christopher Cole. Unbelievably, a bad defense. Agree. Wow, the Bolts blew it. They did. And KR says deflating loss. I mean, that's how I feel right now. I mean, you saw how excited I was when I came on here. We got 3 days until the NFL draft. You got the Lightning winning. You got the Rays that took care of business tonight, which is good for them.
Oh, yeah.
But you needed to have this victory tonight. This was a must-win game. And Alex Killorn was playing out of his mind. But it seems like when they got that 4-1 lead, the Leafs had something to prove, didn't it? Didn't they? So at the end of the day, I don't know what to say. I'm going to get off here for the night. We'll be back on Wednesday night. Thanks to all the guests. Luke Easterling of Athlon Sports. Go ahead and check him out. Of course, you got Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire of 1252 Chicago Sports, and Mr. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. Once again, we'll be back on Wednesday night for the fan mock draft. Get in, get your entry fee in of $10. You get in, have a camera, or get on the phone and go ahead and make your selection. Carolina is available. Houston is available. Arizona is available. Indianapolis is available. And if you match up with the team that you make that pick for, they pick the same player on Thursday night, I'm going to buy you lunch. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube. Like I Love St. Pete, The Hub, and Amped Up Sports. And do 3 things for me on this disappointing Monday night as your Tampa Bay Lightning fall to the Maple Leafs in overtime 5-4. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. We'll see you on Wednesday night on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Have a great night.